Hey guys, welcome to Paleo Greenbird here. I hope everyone is doing awesome. I know these are extremely silly times that we're experiencing right now in a lot of different ways, but don't forget to take time to have fun, to love each other, and to live life, because there's not much we can do about the other stuff. So today I'm going to do a video for, I hope I'm pronouncing your name even close to right, Kaibil Balam. You had a couple questions on slab working. I know that you're experiencing the same frustration that all of us experience when we first start doing slabs. The flakes not coming across far enough to be able to meet in the middle from the other end, and then you're getting islands, and that's very common, so don't get too frustrated over it. A lot of it is just going to be time and experience, but I will share what I can to maybe help at least understand those issues and what you can do to mitigate them. First of all, I'll tell you, you said you were working 2-inch wide slabs. That's very, very aggressive for a beginner. It's not easy to get flakes to run all the way center line on those, and I wish I had a piece of material that was that wide. I looked through my stuff. I don't. All the stuff I have that's that wide is partially already worked and ready to be finished, so I don't have a good example, but I do have this obsidian slab here. All right, and at the base is probably maybe 1.5 inches at the most, and you can see I've worked this side already. But I can tell you, if you're not driving flakes, there's a couple of reasons excuse me, why that's happening. So let's see here, maybe I should get the flaker out and start working on this. So the flakes are going to naturally want to, when you drive them, if you're putting the proper pressure and in the proper spot. Let me zoom in a little bit. They're going to want to feather upward, right? So if your flakes are feathering upward, okay, and in other words, you're getting a good flake and not an early termination, and I'll talk about that in a second. But if you're getting good flakes and they're feathering up, then that's just an issue of putting a little bit more downward pressure before you pluck off, right? That sounded weird, but it's true. If you find that your flake is terminating very abruptly and you're getting like a step fracture or a hinge, and I have a video on step fractures and hinges. I have 2 of them actually, but if I think of it, I'll pop it up here somewhere, or maybe I'll put it in the end card. If you're getting hinges, then that is a sign that maybe you're too aggressive on how much material you're trying to take off. Okay, so instead of let's see here, how can I get this to show? So instead of really going in there deep, try coming closer to the surface of the area that you're going to take off, right? So instead of being way in here in the middle trying to pluck off a ton of material, just start at the end, at the edge there, and try and skin it. You don't need to take off huge amounts of material. It's more important that that flake travels as far as it can, and you'll know that you're doing it correctly if that flake feathers up and out of the stone. So in other words, let's see if I can find a flaw here. Well, it looks like I did a decent job on this one, so I can't find one, but you can see how these flakes all tend to feather upward. Even if they don't go all the way across like an overshot, they feather upward so I can get them from the other side. So I guess my first suggestion would be to maybe take less aggressive of a flake. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. So give it a nice good grind, especially if you're working obsidian. I'm not sure. Oh, you said you were working glass. Very similar. Another issue with glass is that I'm not sure if it's plate glass, not plate glass, if it's bottle bottoms or if it's something that you acquired, but a lot of times you don't get the luxury of having this flat edge to grind. So what you can do, if you have a grinder, maybe just grind that down like a mechanical grinder, or if you have the ability to cut it with a tile saw or something like that, just to give yourself a flat edge that you can grind, that will help tremendously. So usually I start at the tip, but I'm going to start at the base just for this. So again, no need to go real deep. Try just staying close to the surface, and you're going to push down and out, like scooping ice cream. Now normally I would probably you know, lock this into my leg and do it that way, but I have an issue with my elbow right now, so I'm going to do more like an Ishi stick style. I'm going to lock it into my ribs. I'm going to go down and pluck out. And you can see, there we go. We got a decent flake. Should be able to reach that from the other side. Now that's not 2 inches, but the technique remains the same. See, that locked into my leg on that bottom one, and I got a lot more of a flake travel. So if you're getting good feathered flakes, and by feathered I mean like that's a feathered flake. See how it's, let's see if the camera can focus there, relatively smooth. Then it's just a matter of more downward pressure. If you're getting step fractures, and I don't have anything to really give you an example, but a step fracture would look, or a hinge, would look similar to this. See how that like is a very abrupt end to the flake? If you're getting that type of a result, then that's just a matter of you're digging too deep. You're trying to take off too much material. Come closer to your working edge, push down and out, and that should solve the problem. So I'm gonna just work this real quick from the tip down, because that's what I'm used to doing. Tricky on the tip here to get flakes to run, but not to break the tip off. But with a little bit of practice, you'll get it for sure. And what I'm doing, if you haven't watched my other videos, what I'm doing is each time you take a flake off, you're leaving a delta, right? You're leaving a ridge. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that ridge. So in this case, that was kind of a lousy delta, but in this case, I'll take where that flake pattern ends, and I'm going to line that up with my pad, the groove of my pad, right? So that where that flake pattern ends, I'm going to slide that all the way up until it lines up and kind of matches with the end of the groove. And I've found personally that allows me to get really good patterns. All right. So see that delta that it created? I take that very edge, and that very edge is going to go all the way to the far side of my pad. And it's just down and out. And obviously, as I get closer to the bottom of this, I'm going to need to put a little more pressure on there. That was a good one. And once you get, proficient at this, you'll be able to shoot overshot flakes if you want to. I mean, it's fun to do when you first kind of discover it, but then you start to learn that you don't always want an overshot flake, depending upon what kind of a pattern you want. So there we go. That's our first side. And you can see there's a little bit of saw marks left on the edges here on some of these, but I don't care about that because I'm going to come back and fix that. This is just the first pass. So there's going to be a lot of passes that you're going to take on this, to really, if you really want to get a good convex point and get those flakes to travel. And sometimes if you get an island in the middle of that too, I guess I should mention this, sometimes you can clean those up later, especially if you're taking those thin flakes like I was talking about, because look at the deltas that you have left here, right? If you flip them upside down, those deltas become platforms, and you can push those flakes. A lot of times, if you have a good delta, you can push that flake all the way across where your island is, and you can eliminate that island 2, 3, maybe 4 passes down the road. Probably not much more than that. I'd say 2 or 3 is probably. I mean, I only take 4 or 5 passes in total to complete a point, but so sometimes you can get those as long as you're spacing out your flakes. That's how you get those good deltas, is by spacing out your flakes. What you don't want to do is you don't want to take a flake and then go right next to it, take another flake, and right next to it, take another flake. Space it out, and that's why I take the groove of my pad and I line up the delta there. Let me see if I can get a good picture of that. So you see how the low spot is kind of touching up against the groove in my pad. I know it's hard to see because my pad is pretty abused, but that low spot right there. Let's see if I can get in there. Here we go. Right there is what I would take. Okay, and then when once I take that, I'll slide this up. See how I'm lining up that low spot right there with the edge of my pad before I take another flake. That's what you want to do, because those low spots are what you're going to take. So let's just clean up this other side real quick while we're here. Each time I take that, I'm sliding it forward. And again, I understand this is not a 2-inch wide slab, so it might not present all the challenges that you're facing, but the fundamentals are the same. Make sure you keep your pad clean. That will help as well. If you have material in there, it will prevent your flake from traveling. Every once in a while I just get a quick look to see what my flake pattern is, if I have to make any adjustments. Down and out. Cleaning out my pad. Down and out. Well, the bugs are coming out. Lovely. That was a good one. Not a good one. Alright, and just like that, we skin this other side. Now both sides are skinned. But look how thick that is still. See, I didn't take off a lot of material, I'm just skinning it. I think that will help you tremendously. It helped me, because I used to take really deep, aggressive flakes, and I just figured, you know, the more I take off, the less work it's going to be. Not true. The more you take off, the more problems you run into. You'll get hinges or steps. And again, there is a difference, so check out my video on hinges and steps. I have 2 of them, and but they're both basically the end result is the same. They're early terminations. They're just early terminations for different reasons. A hinge is usually taking a platform that's too high, I guess, and abruptly the kinetic energy abruptly stops. Whereas a step fracture is generally you might have had the platform in the right spot, but you just didn't apply enough force to allow that kinetic energy to completely feather out the flake. Therefore, it stopped in stages. It wanted to rise to the top, but it stopped in stages, and you end up with steps. But anyway, you know, that's a different topic. So I hope that this really helps you. If it doesn't, let me know. And again, post a video of what you're doing so I can see, you know, exactly what you're doing. And I'm not an expert. There are a lot of people out there that are way better at flint knapping than me. But one skill set that I do have is I am a good teacher. I've taught in a number of different capacities. So I have you know, an ability to explain things to people. So if you have any questions at all, let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out. But I think that's probably your issue. You're probably either trying to take too aggressively deep flakes, or maybe you need to apply a little bit more downward pressure before you pluck out. But anyway, good for you for taking on, you know, 2-inch wide slabs as a beginner. That's pretty you know, that's pretty aggressive, and that's, you know, good for you. So anyway, post some of your woodworking videos. I'd really like to see them. And until next time, I hope everyone's doing awesome. Uh-oh. That's going to be an issue. See that in the tip? See how that, I got a flake that dove down pretty deep. I don't think it's because I took too aggressive of a flake, but that will happen if you take too aggressive of a flake. So I'm going to have to really finesse that on the tip to keep from breaking that, or I might just lose that. This point might just be this much smaller. But anyway, I hope everyone's doing awesome out there. I hope this really helped you. And you know, let me know what you think. Post some videos, and everybody in this crazy time, take a little bit of time to just be good to each other. Love each other. My chicken's going crazy. All right. See you later.